Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And welcome to the Main Street Cinema, the show where we discuss the finer points of filmmaking. And Dragon, do you know what day this is? At least the day that this is being uploaded to the channel. Do you know what glorious day this is?
Well, I don't think it's Cinco de Mayo.
No, it's May the 4th!
Missed it by one. Yes! May the 4th be with you!
The ultimate, like, pun, like, hey, May the 4th, May the 4th, ha 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 ha. I don't even remember how long ago that got started, Dragon, but it's been a pretty cultural, like, unofficial Star Wars holiday for quite a while, folks. And, of course, Dragon, there's been some recent Star Wars news regarding May. Did you hear that Star Wars Episode 9 has moved from December to May of 2019? Did you hear that?
I believe so, yes, on Hollywood Babylon. I believe that was announced. That and also Indiana Jones, if I understand, has been moved back, maybe?
Yes, I don't want to get into all that.
Well, the point is there have been a lot of announced dates recently by Disney and so forth.
Frozen 2.
Yep, and Toy Story 4 all come in 2019, right. It seems. Anyway.
But, folks, we are here on May the 4th. Like I said, at least that's when these videos are being uploaded.
And then, let's not forget, it's not just any May the 4th. If I'm correct, Tig, with at least all the merchandising, they're saying this year is like the 40th anniversary of Star Wars.
This is the 40th anniversary of Star Wars. I'm glad you bring that up. Yeah, it is 1977 to 2017. You are absolutely correct about that.
Very cool.
All right, so we figured in honor of May the 4th, we'd gather together.
Or May the 40th.
Sure.
I'm just saying, technically, there's no 40th.
That works a lot better than last year when we were 10 days late to this and we did it on May the 14th.
I'm just saying there's no 40, so we might as well say, well, there's no physical day. Let's just who's gonna say we're wrong? Except everyone.
It's the internet, Dragon. The internet was literally made for people to tell you they're wrong.
All right, May the 4th. In honor of May the 4th.
Yeah, we've culminated we've cultivated. What's the correct word, Dragon?
Cultivate is create. What are you trying to say?
We are cultivating. We handpicked. Let's go with that. I'm going to try to be less tricky.
We've chosen.
Yes, we have handpicked 2 Star Wars documentaries that we are going to be doing commentaries for, and these are 2 2 unofficial documentaries, not produced by Lucasfilm or anything like that. We're going to do I Am Your Father first, which is the story of David Prowse, the man behind Darth Vader, and also the filmmaker behind this documentary, wanting to right a great wrong in David Prowse's life. And we also have, Dragon, of course, the documentary that I'm actually shocked we've never done a full podcast about this yet.
Yeah, I know. We had the double check his work after he told me, and I gotta verify. It's as much as we bring it up, we've never talked about it.
So we are going to finally be doing a commentary podcast for The People versus George Lucas, Dragon.
What? Well, actually, we'll be doing a discussion on The People versus George Lucas.
Oh, right. Sorry, I apologize. A discussion on People, because commentaries are exclusively for movies that can't bother to have commentary tracks of their own on this channel.
Bingo.
All right, so we will. I apologize, Dragon. So we'll be doing a discussion about People versus George Lucas very, very soon. And of course, Dragon, I think the common thread that these 2 documentaries share is George Lucas is kind of an antagonistic figure.
Yes, it's kind of like Lucas and well, in this case, more so Lucasfilm, but yes, Lucas in kind of a questionable light. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, take it, but just before we jump in this, just because it occurred to me, let's just talk about how we came across this, and I think it's kind of most in terms of background we really need, just like how we were introduced to this.
My story is so freaking simple, Dragon. Okay, you ready for it? I think it's gonna blow your mind.
Well, I mean, also your initial reaction.
Okay. So my story, Dragon, my epic quest to find this documentary. You'll never believe it. About a month ago, you told me, "Hey, Tiki, have you seen this documentary on Netflix called I Am Your Father? It's really cool. You should check it out." And wasn't that a harrowing story, Dragon?
You know, if I didn't know any better, I'd say I was there.
But no, seriously, my first reaction to this is a very well put together documentary. It's I really like how, of course, we'll get into this with the actual commentary. I really think they expertly kind of dance around the legal issues that are at hand with the thing that the filmmaker is trying to accomplish, which of course we'll get into. Very well edited, very heartfelt, very informative, and I got to admit, it definitely kind of gets the blood pumping a little bit as you're watching these things happen. So, yeah, I liked it a lot. I don't think it's quite up to the caliber of People versus George Lucas, but we've already said that People versus George Lucas is kind of like on our Mount Rushmore of documentaries. So,
like, if I were to kind of summarize this and kind of how I came across it, it was just in a similar way, because as Tiggy said, People versus George Lucas is on a pedestal, along with something, of course, as wonderful as Empire of Dreams. And again, those two are kind of like on the kind of the peak of like kind of Star Wars documentaries. Just kind of documentaries in general, like what kind of quality you want to reach, because one's super informative, takes you through a whole bunch. So one's a little bit more biographical, but still very well put together in documentary-esque style. And then, of course, People versus George Lucas is, it has a story kind of transitions as it goes on. Really good stuff there. I'm always been looking for kind of the next one of those, and there's kind of, it was serendipity. Like, I want to say it was unveiled. I know it was unveiled last year. I want to say it was the winter of last year. It could have been a little earlier. It was like. Here's the thing. This I believe this was filmed and released. I want to say 2015. Then it was like made available on Netflix 2016. Unless it was like there the whole time, I just didn't notice it until then. So it was one of the
could very well be, but yeah.
The point is, came across it, and I was like, I believe it was like it might be one of those things where it's unveiled on Netflix and it goes away, then they bring it back. And one of those.
Sure.
I hate when that happens. When they kind of. It was like keeping in rotation, whatever. The point is, came across this, I'm your father. Okay, I'm intrigued. You sold me. What is it about? I go highlight the little box and tells me like little summations like David Prowse. Okay, David Prowse. All right. And gave it a watch, and I was blown away by it. Just kind of summarize what this whole thing again. Netflix unveiled a documentary on one of the untold Star Wars stories. One of the Star Wars stories not many people know about Darth Vader. No, not James Earl Jones. We're talking about the man who dons the helmet and fills the shoes, David Prowse. What happened to him a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away? It fits the mold of the great informative documentary. It's very well put together for a Spanish documentary, which again, astoundingly, it's kind of quantified that, but again, it translates. You hardly even notice because again, it's just so well produced. It doesn't. I'm not saying anything disparaging any Spanish documentaries, which we might be talking about another segment this year, kind of a foreign documentary.
Okay.
But the point is, again, it's like it's so well done, so well executed. It's kind of like anyone can watch this and kind of be blown away by the story. And it's again, it's kind of one of those. Only thing I can really say going into this is that the reason this really stuck out to me when I watched it is because again, it's like the story that when we really fire into it, it's like. It builds upon stuff that, we know from Empire of Dreams. Like, okay, we know how David Prowse fits into the lore of Star Wars. Like, we know this from Empire of Dreams. We know how it usually goes with them. But then we get like a little nugget. And it's like, what? And this thing, the way it opens, folks, I'm jumping the gun just by one moment here, is that when we get into it, like it's such a fantastic mystery of a documentary because we have this mystery kind of laid out for us, and we kind of go on this path of discovery and these clues, and like, oh my god, it's like it rewrites this little nugget of an unexplored universe of the making of Star Wars, which I didn't know anything about. Did you know anything about this?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, it's funny. It's like David Prowse is kind of just like he's kind of like at least before this documentary, he was sort of a meme of like, oh, ha 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 ha. Isn't it funny that the guy in the Darth Vader costume actually had this like hoity-toity British accent?
And that's all we knew about him. He was just
right.
I only knew, honestly, David Prowse. I only knew really two things.
Kind of like the original Bane. You know what I mean?
What they called him, his nickname was Darth Farmer. Well, that was Carrie Fisher's nickname for him, Darth Farmer. It was all I really knew about Dave Prowse was the Darth Farmer thing from Empire Dreams, where they basically explained that okay, well, yeah, we had this great body for Darth Vader, but we needed a really cool voice, and then we went to James Earl Jones because they wanted something kind of a darker version of Orson Welles because Orson Welles was too recognizable. That's the way we know David Prowse. And the other aspect was it's kind of knew David Prowse because he trained Christopher Reeve Superman. Those are the only two things I knew about David Prowse going into this thing. I was just blown away by the by the guy's history, and this nugget of the Star Wars universe that was just kind of obscured in shadow almost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so all that said, so we're going to, of course, the standard way we do these commentary podcasts, we're going to try to just keep it like a free flow discussion, just try to kind of keep it on point. So even if you're not watching it along with us on Netflix or wherever you're watching it, you don't have to watch it to enjoy it. But it wouldn't hurt. It'd be add to your enjoyment if you kind of watch along with us. So you go with God, to quote Jimmy. Go with God. Whatever you want to do.
I'm sorry, Drake. That's such a cryptic way to describe like watching a commentary track. I'm sorry. Wow. I've never heard a setup for a commentary podcast explained in quite that way before.
Is it no good, or is it just completely out of left field?
No, I love it. I'm sorry. Oh god.
So of course, the way we always kick these off too, so we're going to prep you for my colleague will count to 3, and kind of like in a Lethal Weapon style, we'll go 1, 2, 3, and on go we go. We don't just go on 3, we go on go.
Dragon, I just want to mention, I haven't seen all of Lethal Weapon 2 yet, but I did happen to walk in. My dad was watching that particular scene, and as soon as I saw that scene, I was like, oh my god, it's me and Dragon.
Was this a few days ago?
Yes, this was like a few days ago.
Yeah, I saw that when it was on TV.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was the bathroom scene. Okay.
Yep. Anyways, like I said, that's about the only thing I've actually seen of Lethal Weapon 2. I need to watch the whole thing. But anyways, folks, you get the picture. You get the picture. All right. So, like I said, folks, go ahead and go to timestamp 00 if you're so inclined on Netflix or wherever you're watching this. I will count up to 3 and say go. When you hear me say go, just go ahead and press play. All right, Drake, you ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. I am your father in 1, 2, 3, go. Okie dokie. So yeah, you're right. Very very international film company. Right away, kind of some shade at Lucas. I mean, I know this bumper has to be there, but it's like, ooh, ominous. All right. So yeah, like you said, Dragon, I love the way this movie starts off with the story of how, like we don't even realize how devastating it would be for David Prowse to not be involved in the scene where Darth Vader dies. And so that's kind of like the thesis statement of the documentary after we get through with this kind of monster movie thing right here.
Yeah, we have a Colm Meaney, if I'm saying his name. He's the narrator. I think he does a great job, and I love our structure here. We have like the talk of Charles Ogle and like the first Frankenstein monster. And I love what's so great about this talk about the first Frankenstein monster is that it's talking about how there was an original. Again, these are more facts I didn't know. Again, I know there. Of course, the book version of Frankenstein is quite different than the film version.
Yeah,
but the fact that there are other, older interpretations on film of Frankenstein that have been overshadowed by the Boris Karloff version. That's kind of very in tune with kind of David Prowse's story. Kind of the actor being kind of overshadowed by the makeup or by the part or by kind of the more famous aspects of the mythology.
Sure.
It's a great tease for Prowse as an intro.
Of course, I love how they pay off that idea, through the credits. I don't know, it's a very well put together documentary where they see the idea of the Frankensteins and it goes all the way through the film into the closing credits. It's a very, very well put together kind of thesis statement right there. Along with, of course, the now, oh god, there's a lot of I don't know. This is like my second time watching this. Actually, my third time watching this, Dragon. So there's a lot of little nuances I'm picking up on. We're getting clips of the press, right? Talking about the David Prowse story and the press is going to play a very big role in the story going forward.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, is this an interview with David Prowse and the press? I'm sorry.
Yes, that's where I'm on right now. Is him? We're seeing like a little box of footage, right?
I just want to make sure that the audio we're hearing is
Oh.
actually him talking to the press.
Yes, this is. I believe he's doing an interview of some kind with someone, like a radio interview. Or he's talking something that's going to. It's him doing an interview, which
Okay.
of course is what all those press things are about. I love this, by the way. This is a great thing. And you actually pointed out to me just now. The scene they're shooting him up, of course, directly is kind of this like most likely the first day on set versus the ending of Jedi, because you see them putting the helmet on him like they're taking it off in Jedi.
Sure.
And we have the shadow of Vader too. So again, that's a really great catch. I didn't catch before. Again, rewatchability, folks.
And the great Lou Ferrigno. Oh my God, what a delight
I
that
love
man is.
how Ferrigno champions Prowse in this film. He's like great kind of like he just says such nice things about Prowse because they are cut from the same cloth. They're very identified for a role, and of course they're bodybuilders.
Sure, very much so.
They have some great art throughout this film. Raphael Rizzi, if I'm again Rizzi, like the art, basically the same art stuff. Like all these, like it's like we can't really use clips from Star Wars, like straight from the films. Where you have these great little kind of pieces of the black and white Vader art kind of going out throughout the thing.
Which is very appropriate because as we're kind of going through these initial interviews, the big focal point is Darth Vader is this icon, and just his silhouette is iconic.
I love that we don't meet David Prowse in the modern day until 20 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, you're right. And to me, Dragon, one of the real interesting things about this film is I almost feel like the filmmaker himself is just as much a part of the story as David
Absolutely.
Prowse is.
Yes.
So I can really, I really like that element of it.
Oh, that's great.
Now, remind me the name of the filmmaker, because I'm terrible with names.
The filmmaker is Marcus. Marcus, I believe he might have some weird pronunciation with his name, but it's Marcus Kubota.
Kubota, okay.
But I'd say we should call him Marcus just to be clear.
Yeah,
Marcus.
just to be safe, he's Marcus. Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
Of course, you know what he kind of reminds me of, though, Marcus? He kind of reminds me a little bit of Daniel Brunn from Civil War. Daniel Brühl,
Right.
Baron Zemo.
Right. Okay, Dragon, I am absolutely convinced that To Tell the Truth was
Yep.
literally just made so that we could have a bunch of documentaries about this people and just make it as a framing
And
device.
it's
right?
always number two. It's in each movie.
Yep.
It's always the
Yep.
second guy.
So let's go through these. Like, obviously
Catch
the
me
big
if you
one
can.
was
I am Big Bird. Catch
Yeah,
me
I
if
am
you
Big
can.
Bird.
And
Yeah.
now we got this. And again, it's always the second guy. Why is it always the second guy?
I'm just like the guy, whoever came up with To Tell the Truth, like must have had like incredible foresight into documentary storytelling.
And again, that is such a great opening for this at the same time, like it is with all of those, because again, it's kind of the guy who you don't instantly look. Again, it's all about obscuring identity, which is kind of what Prowse's bread and butter is.
Sure,
his career.
sure.
And it's such a brilliant framing device. And again, for the third time, it works.
Oh God.
That's great. And again, we're still building to we have not seen modern day Prowse. We're getting to see him through his family and through his past right now. By the way, just in general with this, just so we don't kind of glaze over, I love the
Sure.
I love the whimsical score in this film, along with the narrator's voice. Those two combined really add to some great momentous kind of moments.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad you bring up Cole Meany because he. I haven't watched all of Hell on Wheels. I only saw the first season of Hell on Wheels, but he was one of the most memorable things about Hell on Wheels. So, and also I feel like, I don't know, Dragon, it might be a coincidence, but I feel like there's a bit of a Mark Hamill-esque delivery to Cole Meany's narration.
I didn't really think of that, but I'm not against that.
It's probably it's like 99% likely that it's unintentional, right? It's just the guy's natural way of speaking, but it sounds Hamill-esque. It does.
I didn't get that, but again, another thing to rewatch it for you.
Okay.
A lot of levels on the rewatch on this, folks. I highly encourage it. Let's see. So, of course, we're getting to know getting to see the young pictures of David, and of course, how with the bodybuilding thing, which of course introduces how he met Lou Ferrigno. I love that we are. basically what got us here, and I just want to make sure I address. I love what got us here. Basically, we parallel the villain's origin with David Prowse's origin, and the narrator kind of giving us that really cool transition. It's already passed, but I just want to make it just.
Yeah, the ominous sort of like like what makes a great villain sort of thing.
Yes, and like we always kind of understand your villain, which kind of leads us to, again, it's really wonderfully framed. This documentary has excellent framing of kind of events, and right now we're introduced to again our director, Marcus Cabota.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus. And here's the thing that blew me away on the rewatch. I never caught in the first watch. I think adds so much more meaning to the film.
Okay.
Looking at the title, "I Am Your Father," I love that the story Marcus is laying out for us here is like how he fell in love with Star Wars, and the way he fell in love with Star Wars was it was a father-son experience. His father introduced Star Wars to him.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The element of fatherhood definitely runs its way throughout the movie for sure. Even with David Prowse and his own family life, you know what I mean? So
certainly, of course, yeah, Prowse and his son, and of course, in general, it's kind of the Luke Vader thing. The big reveal, of course, the whole film, the crux of the film is on the kind of the I Am Your Father reveal. So again, the fact that fathers and sons are kind of are thematically introduced. You're building to that reveal that's where the title of the documentary is coming from. The I Am Your Father moment from Empire really kind of had a huge impact in Prowse's life.
Right. Like, most people just saw that as like, oh, it's a cool Hollywood twist. And David Prowse is like, well, this is a twist. Yes, it's very much a twist. It's not what I would have wanted.
Oh, yeah. And again, it's I'm going to hit upon this more when we get more stuff with Marcus, but I love that, we get to through Star Wars and mostly Vader. Again, David Prowse is a huge fixture of his childhood and his filmmaking career. Just kind of the experience he had with that film and kind of Vader.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, getting some bona fide on David Prowse here, getting his start as Frankenstein, appropriately enough, in the Hammer horror films. And working with Peter Cushing, by the way. Again, that's a kind of a fun foreshadow to his future.
Right.
Working with Cushing, and we're going to see that definitely. Again, of course, Vader and Tarkin have a unique relationship in New Hope.
Of course.
And also, what's great about what we're doing here is kind of looking at kind of his past works and basically how he conveyed kind of emotion and pathos with his characters through the eyes and then the movement. Is that we're establishing his talent in conveying character through physicality, and we're showing like what we're saying without saying it on the nose that Dave Prowse is really good at what he does, and it's not just like a guy in a suit. It's a guy in a suit who's expressing character.
Dragon, I hate to say it, but my Netflix just froze up for about 30 seconds, so I'm going to need to jump ahead a little bit. What time stamp?
Right now I'm on.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm on about around 10:34. It's kind of hard that it's kind of hard to tell with the exact time. I'm on the Frankenstein stuff. It's like he's.
Okay, let me know when you get to.
I'm on the Mighty Tonka.
Okay, let me know when you get to timestamp 11:23. All right.
All right. It's gonna be a little hard to tell, but I'll tell you when I'm close.
Yeah, darn Netflix. Netflix,
okay,
we love you, but I'm sorry.
Something we're talking about. You're talking about Clockwork Orange,
which is one of the rare times you actually see his face in a movie.
Yes, and unfortunately, I have two very minor gripes in this film. See that scene from Clockwork Orange. I'm sure it's like a legal thing. We're going to the Superman. That's all I can really tell you. We're on the Superman part. So get to the Christopher Reeve interview, and I'll tell you when.
Okay. Actually, I'm on Superman right now. So.
Okay. So right now they're talking about how David Prowse, he auditioned for Superman, and this to me blows me away. I didn't know this part story. He auditioned to be Superman, and while he didn't get it, he was instrumental in making Christopher Reeve into Superman. Okay, right now, Reeves doing he's doing the interview right now. Yep. Anyway, that's kind of where we are. Sorry, folks. So again, I love this story of Christopher Reeves going on about how the regiment of training Christopher Reeves went through. So like on the first day, he lifted everything, kept adding 5 pounds throughout the day. At the very end, when he's all tired, I says, right, that's where we start. Like, oh God, David Prowse is awesome. Yeah. You can hear me, right?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a little echoey, but I can hear you.
Give me a sec. I'm sorry. I'm having mic issues.
Okay, we're fine.
There we go. I'm okay. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, my mic cut out. Wow, we're already having tech issues. Great job. Awesome. Okay. Anyways,
So right now we're in Madrid, Spain.
I do like the Christopher Reeve story. Like they put, he kept putting 5 pounds there, 5 pounds there, 5 pounds there. Can't lift anymore. Good. That's where we start.
Yeah.
Okay, so I really like how cryptic they're being about what he wants to do. I mean, I like that they don't just tell us up front, because I feel like if you're smart, you can kind of put the pieces together, right?
Yeah, it sounds like an insane thing to ask, but again, it's a mystery unfolding.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's the big draw for me. Again, we keep having these mysteries, and it doesn't feel contrived. It feels like, okay, we're unfolding a mystery, and you're still intrigued. It's like every time you think you know, you recognize something, it's like, okay, there's a little bit more there. But even in between, we have these little mysteries going on where, again, we're not having subtitles. We don't know what he's proposing here.
Sure.
Which is really cool. So again, we have the what kind of drew Marcus to film here is the idea of his mother sitting him down, just kind of telling him what a filmmaker does.
Mm-hmm. I gotta say, I
again,
kind of had that same experience with watching old George. There's an old Star Wars documentary, Dragon. It came out right when Return of the Jedi was in theaters.
I remember this.
Yeah, From Star Wars to Jedi, and that was a movie that was the documentary that kind of got me into filmmaking. So I can very much relate to this guy.
I love it overall with Marcus. I love that he is he's like this little through line. That he's like this little through line that kind of directs the spine of the story. That's Marcus. I love that he's not necessarily the spine of the story, but he's like directing it. He's like telling us where to go. He's like kind of steering us in the direction of our story, and everything else follows like a train.
How crazy would an Apocalypse Now directed by George Lucas be, by the way?
And this is more mind-blowing stuff that we really aren't privy to, is the fact that Apocalypse Now led to Star Wars. I didn't know that.
Right. Oh, Apocalypse Now, such a fascinating movie. Like, Apocalypse Now is kind of like the ultimate culmination of an incredibly interesting and fascinating production and a really, really good movie. But anyways,
by the way, it's past. I just want to mention. I love how Brian. I think they're about to talk about it soon. Or Brian Mueller, the guy who sculpted the Vader costume. I love the fact that he has the Vader helmet next to him in all the interviews. It just looks really cool. I just wanted to acknowledge that. And it's also a little bit symbolic.
I clapped when I saw Darth Vader.
I watched the video. It was hysterical. But let's not get sidetracked.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So, speaking of first of all, is let's point out Gary Kurtz. Gary Kurtz, of course, and he's going to be a big fixture. He's going to be a carryover for People versus George Lucas. He is a go-to source for Star Wars production information. He's been around for the good and bad times for Star Wars, and he's going to be very integral to he's the path to George Lucas. Gary
I feel like this guy is a really interesting presence because, we're meant to view him kind of as the antagonistic force, right?
It's very interesting. Two figures that will factor in the Star Wars quite a great deal. Gary Kurtz and Bob. What's the Bob the W. Bob W. is something.
You know who I am with names, man. I'm sorry. This guy?
Yeah. Well, this guy doesn't. Oh, yeah, this guy right here. Yeah.
Yeah,
Bob Watts.
Robert
Watts. Yeah, that's the guy. He's kind of our antagonist, believe it or not.
No, I agree.
He's the guy who he's Governor Tarkin. He's Grand Moff Tarkin. Seriously, he is Tarkin for this film. He followed orders.
Yeah, he's kind of the guy who is
he's holding Vader's leash, quite literally. He is.
And he's also very much not telling Marcus what Marcus wants to hear. And it's interesting because you can kind of see the trepidation about that. Look, I'm not trying to be all argumentative, but I'm just kind of saying it as it is, And it's really interesting how it's the actual process of interviewing this guy could have been a whole story in its own right? Because the actual interview with him, he goes from being very, very kind of just the corporate button pusher who's just going to speak for Lucasfilm and say all the things that Dave Prowse did wrong, And then as we hear Marcus's side of the story, he's going to slowly come around. So I tell you, Dragon, that must have been probably like, obviously, I think the most thrilling thing for Marcus was the film shoot that we'll get to. But I think the interview with Rob Watts was probably the most intense and really interesting thing that he got to do, I would think.
Yeah,
like
again,
that
so
must have been a very, very heated interview.
Again, you're right, though. I think Watts is a very interesting part of the film because he is somewhat an open guy, but he's very casual about things like Gary Kurtz, but he's very unapologetic about his choices. But on some level, you get a sense that he regrets how he carried out things. Again, he's following orders. He wasn't the guy who kind of gave the order, but he enforced it though. And I think the vibe I get, the first scene he had, it's already passed, but the first scene he mentions, he put an emphasis on the guy who had to play Vader. It wasn't on the acting, it was on the kind of the appearance. So he just basically, acting wasn't important on Vader, which is kind of counterintuitive to what David Prowse is all about. So again, he's kind of seated as the villain because of that.
Yeah, like I said, he's the guy who's not telling Marcus what Marcus wants to hear through this whole process.
Exactly. And again, this is also passed because we're going to hit upon this too in some background that's coming up. That right now our guy's about to meet Dave Prowse.
Yeah.
I love that how
20 minutes in, as you said.
I love how symbolic it is that Vader was made to the specifications of Dave Prowse. So in a way, it's really well linked to our story that David Prowse specifically, he has to be Vader. It's like he is Darth Vader because the thing was molded for his physique and his face and everything. So
it very much reminds me of. I'm sorry. It very much reminds me of Robert Englund and Freddy Krueger.
Yes,
not so much like the mold, but it definitely
it's how you carry it. It's like how you carry it.
Exactly, and that's very much the same thing with Robert Englund. Yeah. So. Because they tried to get different people in the Freddy costume,
and it never worked. No one does the shoulders like Robert Englund.
So it's very much the same way with the Vader suit, I'd imagine.
And of course, I love the kind of really cool past-present running narratives we got going on here. Which, of course, now this is the present kind of now coalescing.
And there he is. There's the man of the hour.
And
20 minutes.
Now, I've been a little distracted talking about it, but just so we covered that, I love that we established we start to get an inkling of what Marcus is going for here. We set up the kind of the heart and the mission of the film is set up here. That
sure.
This again broadly, it's like this kid meets his hero in a way 10 years later, because he met him in 2004, and then he's meeting him now. This is shot most likely in 2014 because the film came out in 2015. It's like 10 years later, he wants to propose kind of the ultimate thank you to his hero that he met 10 years ago. And how sweet an idea is that?
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And I love the build up to him actually asking the question too. I think again, Dragon, the editing on this movie is just very, very well timed and very, I don't know what the word for it, maybe stylized. The editing is very not stylized. It's just very this movie knows how to tell a story.
It does very well. And speaking of that,
I keep on trying to pull big words and then end up just going for simplistic words. I feel like my grammar is dying on me, Dragon. Anyways, go on.
Real quick, a moment that just passed, and I really want to highlight on the rewatch. I noticed this: the image that Prowse pulls as they're kind of speaking of Sebastian Shaw, which again is kind of a great kind of foreshadow for our big kind of stuff in the third act, I guess. Is they're holding a fan-made image that David Prowse has of Dave Prowse being basically if he was in the scene from Return of the Jedi.
Right.
And the way that's framed, of course, is exactly what's going to happen. Is what our filmmaker's trying to make a reality. And I love that we have that set up here. Basically, it's such a wonderful happy accident. Is what we want to happen. Basically, righting the wrong done to Dave Prowse, kind of reshooting the scene that basically reshooting the scene that Dave Prowse most wanted to shoot in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I love that we, the audience, are armed at this point in the movie. We are armed with this knowledge that we are waiting for its use. We know, our guy has the gun. We have to know if he's going to use it or not, sort of thing.
I mean, it's a very it's not a very tension-heavy Chekhov's gun, but I do agree it is a Chekhov's gun to a certain.
Well, we don't know how Prowse is going to react to it. It could be kind of a sad, kind of bowling for Columbine moment of oh god, he's just assault. He's just kind of not that just kind of bombarding this guy with a really kind of intense question.
Right.
It's not as intense, but still could go wrong. It could go wrong. Like, what is this, a joke to you?
Yeah, I see. I see what you're talking.
Again, it's kind of that tense question of like, it's kind of like, do you get do you meet your hero's moment again? Like, do you want to meet your hero?
I mean, to tell you the truth, though, I think the way that they frame this and the way that they're taught, the way that David specifically is talking about how much he regrets not doing it and how much Vader means to him in his life, to tell you the truth, Drag, this isn't really a critique of the documentary itself, just more so like if we're going to talk about the Chekhov's gun of it all. I was pretty sure that Prowse would be into it when he was finally asked.
Well, for a moment, let's just acknowledge, poor Kenny Baker. We lost him.
In
recent years. So again, like R.I.P. Kenny Baker. It's good to see him in this though. This is getting closer to the end. So. Right. They're saying it's kind of good to see kind of again, Kenny Baker, another kind of unsung hero. He's kind of known for, much like David Prowse in the line of I think people realize that when they went into the convention circuit, they got to know the names behind the mask, and that's kind of when Kenny Baker kind of won the popularity.
Sure, and Kenny Baker, of course, also a mainstay on Star Wars documentaries from back in the day to Empire of Dreams and everything in between.
And right now, and I love this. I love that our story really. When we go back in time to Star Wars, I love that we don't go through the making of Star Wars. We go through kind of the pre-production and the aftermath. I love that we don't kind of spend time in A New Hope too much.
Right.
Because again, that's where Dave Prowse's story starts. His story starts really, again, things go south for Dave Prowse after it's in between A New Hope and Empire.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's kind of where, because no one knew. Again, a very important story point. No one knew how big Star Wars was going to be.
Of course.
Of course, we got Dave talking to the press again. We know, again, this is going to be something.
Oh, God, it's like the Jaws of this movie. The press is Jaws, Dragon.
Yeah. Of course, I love that we're setting up Dave Prowse to be very, we have a great sense of humbleness and mystique to Prowse. Just from the instant we meet him in the present, and of course, that feeds into what we think of him in the past.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is great. This is wonderful. The fact that Prowse nowadays sounds like a spitting. It's about to come up. I think it's about to come up.
Yes. It's you're right though. It's a great idea because initially you're thinking, okay, wait a minute. Of course, again, it's the subversion of the thing we know from Empire of Dreams. Of okay, yeah, we know you sound like Darth Farmer. Carrie Fisher called him this.
Right.
But no. Well, now with a little filter, he sounds like Vader.
Which is great. That's great.
Yeah, it's been built up. Like we have again. I like it. We're building up what everyone thinks, but we're doing it in different shots. So it's not just pulling stuff from that documentary. It's Ben Burtt talking about the scuba gear, and the origin.
Yeah,
of the
Ben Burtt.
race.
I've heard you talk about the damn scuba gear on every single Star Wars commentary track that's ever been recorded.
Hey! Be nice to Ben Burtt. He gave us water.
I'm sick of Ben Burr's sound stories, Dragon. I'm sick of them.
You are a sad, strange little man.
I'm sorry. Every Star Wars commentary. Can we get a Star Wars commentary that's not exclusively?
It is not every one. It's only the ones
every single one. I'm calling shots right now. Look, Ben Burr, you might be obviously he's a genius in terms of sound design.
I'm not affiliated with this man. He hates Ben Burtt. I'm not affiliated with this man.
Maybe not the best guy to do a commentary. Anyways. I'm sorry.
Anyway.
I love you,
Ben.
Ben.
So right now, but again, they're kind of talking about the basically how, again, this is something that didn't really it's something that I mentioned this to some people we've done interviews with in the past, Tiki. I think it was Avery Jones, if I'm recollecting. Basically, people who realized they've been dubbed at the last minute.
Sure, yeah, and Avery, of course, we did talk to him for an extended period of time about that.
And I brought up the whole Jeff East thing from Superman, where the actor played young Clark Kent was dubbed by Christopher Reeve, and he didn't know that until the premiere. He was apologized to with Prowse. You got to remember, and I didn't know this level to it, so I watched, is that Lucas intended to use him until he realized the voice didn't work. So again, Prowse was supposed to be the voice of Vader until they kind of realized, it's not really working. The voice is a little too, not exactly kind of a little too cartoony.
Now, one of the wrinkles in this film that I feel like they could have ironed out a little bit more is James Earl Jones's role in all this.
Here's the thing. I don't mind that. Again, it's the focus. You don't want to take the focus off Prowse to the other Vader. I think that was a smart choice.
No, I mean I agree, but I just be very curious to hear like how James Earl Jones felt about it. Like if he ever had any remorse for, kind of taking that away from Prowse, or if he just viewed it as another job or what.
Honestly, I don't think there's much of a story there. I just think that's why they didn't include that.
Okay.
I think there's I think honestly, just there was like a moment which they kind of address where they do address that he always gives Prowse props. He always makes sure it's known that Prowse was the physical body, and in return for that, I like that Prowse always acknowledges that. Again, it's like he did when everyone's coming up to him saying, "Oh, you sounded great." Like, no, that wasn't me. That was James Earl Jones. It's like, but again, there's a respectability among actors.
You mean Darth Vader is Mufasa? What?
Then I think they
ATSTs. I'm sorry. I'm terrible.
I think they acknowledge that well enough.
Yeah. Anyways.
Of course, we're getting into the empire of it all here, and again, we have this great arc kind of taking us into again.
I want some of this artwork, man. It's really cool. I would not mind having posters of this.
And again, this wasn't a bad way of kind of not using the footage. This is kind of a neat way of we all know what happens.
Everyone knows the footage,
yeah.
right?
That's the thing. I mean, all we need is like the little silhouettes just to tell us what scene we're kind of thinking of. Okay, what represents Empire? Cloud City, Hoth. And the big horse, Luke versus Vader. Okay, that's all we just give me some shadows of that. We're good.
Sure.
That's all you need.
I love how 3PO is on Vader's back in silhouette, or on Chewie's back in silhouette.
Now, this shot's very important of the helmet coming in, because that is Dave Prowse in the makeup. That was the only time, again, that was building the fact that they were going to show him in Jedi, because they shot him in. He had the makeup on when the helmet's being put on
in Empire. Right.
That's him, and I love how we homage that shot later on. We'll get there. One of my favorite shots in the entire movie, because again, it's such a great build to like, oh my God, yes. That's when it kind of became apparent that yes, that was him. That's why he thought he was going to be in Jedi. There was no reason why he wouldn't think that.
And I will say, Dragon, it was a very BS excuse of like, oh, well, we need an older looking actor. It's like, mother effer.
Makeup.
Yeah, what do you think makeup is for?
It's not just that. It's
that is such a shallow excuse. It just bogs my mind.
Okay, now here's the big kind of I Am Your Father role. Here's where we get the title of the movie. So here's the big controversy.
Okay.
So, of course, this big reveal that he was at the press accidentally called the I Am Your Father.
right.
And in Empire, when of course again this is the big subversion.
He basically like laid it out like beat by beat how it was gonna go down.
And what's great is, and by the way, I love that when we saw a few shots of them shooting Empire again, we're building that shot of like kind of Luke over Vader, but we did the reverse of it, Vader over Luke without the mask on. So we saw Prowse's head and Mark Hamill's head. So again, we're building that shot. But yeah, onto the I Am Your Father of it all is. It's amazing because again, Empire of Dreams, we know this like the back of our hands. We know how the story goes. No one knew about the reveal, and Dave Prowse was told. Dave Prowse was told to say, Obi-Wan killed your father.
Yeah.
And he's saying the lines, and he's told that Obi-Wan to your father. That's what he's told that. That's what he reveals. Yes, and he didn't know that until pretty like everyone else. And again, that's how it goes. But we had no idea that before that like in an interview way before that, it was just these speculatory ideas of oh well, if we do another one, because they had no idea they were doing another one. The actors had no idea they're doing another one.
One of the most fascinating time periods in Star Wars history for me is the time in between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, because there were so many like hypotheticals or like Star Wars comics with like aliens and creatures that never made it into the movies. Of course, the Star Wars Holiday Special is part of that equation.
Mm-hmm. Of course, nowadays we have another version of that with kind of Rogue One, kind of right before New Hope.
Oh yeah.
And something that's So again, I feel really bad for Prowse because it's a situation where an actor, and of course we have this today, where actors can't. Well, now it's a little less because now people have multi-picture deals in the works. Where it's a situation where they can't confirm or deny that there are more Star Wars films on the way. So like the higher ups can't tell the actors, hey, there's going to be more, so don't say anything about future plot ideas.
But the whole danger of saying too much to the press, Dragon, that's still a very real thing. I mean, like,
yes.
let's not soon forget the tragedy of Josh Trank. Because Josh Trank, I feel like his career is done. I feel like that guy's blacklisted.
Does seem to be the case, very much so, yes.
Yeah, which is a shame, man. Anyways, but
so,
you know what I mean? That is very much a similar story of, like, just saying one wrong thing in the press, maybe in the heat of the moment, could just entirely tank your career.
And of course, there's that moment where Gary Kurtz says he encouraged Prowse not to say anything because, again, he knows that they're working on other films. They're in talks for other movies, but he can't say yes or no because then he'll be armed with that information. So he has to encourage him. Remember, you should try not to be. I wouldn't do the press conferences if I were
right.
and he did. And again, it's like he can't tell him. So it's no one's fault. It's just again they're in a. It's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing: the only two people now, just based on like the only two people who we don't get in this documentary, the only two people who can confirm or deny if Prowse came up with the idea or not is George Lucas and Lawrence Kasdan. Kasdan, right now, the reason he's not in this documentary, I believe, is because he's on lockdown with Disney because he's been writing the Han Solo movie.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
So they probably wouldn't allow him.
Right.
I can't confirm. I'm just saying. I would assume that's what they don't anything with Star Wars. They don't want this guy being involved in anything with Star Wars unless it's a DVD documentary. And George Lucas, of course, because he doesn't. He's kind of our unreliable narrator. We can't trust anything he says.
God.
In a bad way. I'm just saying it's the fact. Again, he could change the story, and we can't. He's an unreliable source.
Well, you see, Dragon, I changed the story to have more CGI in it. I changed my relationship with David to just have some,
unfortunately,
in the background. And all right, I'm done. That was fun.
Unfortunately, the tragedy here too is that David Prowse, his memory isn't what it used to be. Now he is not, despite some rumors, he is not suffering from dementia. But again, he's an accelerated age here. His memory isn't what it used to be.
Right. And I mean, keep in mind, this is one interview back in the 70s, and it's like 40 years later, practically. So,
But how mind-blowing an idea would that be if he actually... Because again,
I can't remember stuff that I said on podcast 2 weeks ago, Dragon. All right?
I know that. Believe me, I know that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm in defense of Prowse on this. So,
but again, how mind-blowing would that be? Because it's kind of written off as like the best accidental idea ever, which he just kind of guessed like the best ending and the best reveal in cinema history.
But of course, the dark irony of it is that cool kind of coincidence led to the downfall of his relationship with Lucasfilm.
Absolutely, and again, you got to wonder though. While they do say Lucas came up with the idea, and they say at the end, you got to wonder how much is that entirely true.
Well, you see, Dragon. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Anyway, but I got to tell you though, and tell me if you read any of this. Again, I get a sense when they're talking about the "I am your father" of it all. I get a sense Gary Kurtz is getting really. There's some tension there with Gary Kurtz. Again, I think he's hiding it.
No, I can see that for sure. I
mean, on the record, I personally believe that it's. I believe that it was a lucky guess. I personally think that, but I wouldn't be surprised if if it is going to be a big reveal. I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of if they kept that under lock and key. They'd have to include David Prowse on things if he came up with that. They acknowledge that.
Right.
I'm just saying that's a big deal. So they would have reason to keep that secret. So again, it's another kind of that mystery aspect of the film. It's kind of fascinating.
This film's got so many layers, Shrek. It's like an onion. I'm just saying it does. It's very layered. It's a very layered documentary. Perhaps
you would agree, though, right?
Yeah. Perhaps I could have found a more eloquent way of stating that, but oh god.
So I believe we're kind of. So again, I like that we are in between kind of our big Star Wars milestones here, we have two kind of plot points to go. We're going over kind of the other stuff that David Prowse has done, as well as, again, on kind of our mystery development on kind of how our guy's going to make this plan work with reshooting the last scene.
It's kind of like a heist movie.
In a way, it's a caper of some kind. Maybe not a heist, but it's a caper film, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like a mystery caper film. Again, it's a really
all wrapped up on like an autobiography.
I gotta tell you, Tig, I can't recall a documentary I've seen that has like such a mystery kind of format like that. It's framed like a mystery like this, right? Or a caper.
No, I mean, you're right, Dragon. Like rewatching this film, and folks, that's what I'm encouraging right now. You know, because I saw this once and I was like, okay, that was good. I watched it again. I think I took a lot more out of the emotions of it. You know, kind of really knowing David's story. And I've got to say, Dragon, on this third watch, I'm really picking up on like the minutia of, you know, kind of like the storytelling devices and, you know, and the stuff that they lay in that's going to get brought up later. This film's really winning me over. This was a great choice to talk about.
I would really love to see Marcus do more documentaries. I'm just so wowed by what he did here. Then again, this is a passionate subject for him, but regardless, I'd be very intrigued to see what else he does. So before we get more on Marcus, which we'll have other opportunities to do that, let's talk about the Green Cross Code Man.
Yes. I'm sorry, Dragon. I think I might be a little behind you.
Well, I mean, they're building it up right now. I'm just kind of getting well, he's not in the costume. He's just talking.
Okay, you know what? I just jumped to when he is in the costume, and he says, "Always use the Green Cross code."
All right. So well, now we're seeing the footage. Now we're seeing the footage, and he's just appeared in front of the kid.
Okay, just say when he says, "Always
Green crosses." He just did stop.
Okay.
Hey, curb.
Right.
Always, okay.
Got it.
It's close enough. Anyway, so what do you think about the Green Cross Code, man?
Dragon, the Green Cross Code, man, is actually very near and dear to my...
Reminds you of...
What?
Oh, sorry, go on. I thought you were making a comeback Carl joke. Sorry.
No, but it is very near and dear to my heart, the subject matter, because I live in a town full of reckless drivers. Like, Petaluma is actually notorious for having reckless drivers. So...
Really?
Yeah. So, Dragon, I kid you not, like, the message of this commercial is, I agree with it so much, and I'm just like, yes, I nod in approval over this.
I'm just so genuinely charmed. I think it's such a genuinely charming PSA idea. Just help kids cross the street. It doesn't sound
like it doesn't sound like the most important issue, right? But then, as we establish, it helped like literally cut the amount of traffic accidents in half.
Yeah.
So it's like it's.
I think that's great. I just love the idea of this. It's such a charming little story that he just did this kind of this little PSA that actually saved a lot of children. Again, he was kind of in a way just kind of it's kind of this lovely. It's a little bit of an exaggeration. It's kind of this lovely PSA idea of Vader somewhat helping children. Across the street and being fatherly to children.
Now that I really want to see, Dragon. I really want to see that now.
Of course, of Vader, not Anakin Skywalker, because that'd be quite different what he would do to children.
Oh, God. Remember, kids, always look both ways before crossing the street.
Or Anakin Skywalker will find you and give you big hugs with lightsabers.
Oh, man.
So again, also the fact that he got a song.
So rough and irritating.
He got a song, too. The Green Cross Code. That's already passed. I'm saying the Green Cross Code Man song. Look both ways. All right. Right. So right now we are getting into kind of the convention stuff with Dave Prowse. I love that what got us into this was the kind of the crossing X shot, by the way, against a little kind of really clever transition. But right now we're seeing that Prowse is really kind of the I like to call kind of the champ of conventioning. You know, it's just he says it's easy for him. But you gotta imagine it's a little hard for him with kind of the arthritis and stuff. You know, he has to kind of use the canes and stuff. I'm saying kind of getting from point A to point B might be a little difficult, but you know, he does this just for the love of the work. And again, it's like he's trying to get. I get a sense, honestly, that he's getting recognition for that role, for that scene he didn't get to do. And that's somewhat in the back of his mind and motivator for why he's doing all these conventions. I could be completely just kind of out of my mind on that, bear in mind. I'm just saying that I think there may be some additional reasons under the surface for why he's so compelled to do all the conventions. Maybe because he can't do the official Star Wars conventions, he's trying to compensate by doing a whole bunch of other ones, or he just does it for the heck of it. Either way, it's a nice little thing that, you know, he really likes to get to know the fans and everything. Of course, him getting in touch with fans is kind of what made this film in the first place. Is what, you know, him meeting Marcus in 2004. Very, very key. Yeah.
Okay, I'm back. You there?
Yes, I'm here.
I'm sorry, man. My computer just my whole web browser just crashed. Let me get the screen share back up.
Right. Right now we're on the I've been taking them through the convention stuff.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm about to load up Netflix, and I'll try and get as close as we can. But where's the conversation?
Well, right now, you know, he's it's basically how he really loves doing conventions like MegaCon. I believe they're about to get into how he's kind of not allowed at the other Star Wars conventions.
Which, to me, Dragon, that is the biggest injustice that this movie puts forth. It's not the fact that he got cut out of Return of the Jedi. It's not the fact that he doesn't know that he was Luke's father. It is simply, it literally makes my stomach churn that he's barred from Star Wars Celebration.
Right. Well, I think we're gonna get more to that later, but yeah, let's put a little bit of that forward now. Save more of that for later. But yeah, he's just kind of the champ of conventions we're seeing right now. You know, he's meeting his pal, Vader meeting the Incredible Hulk, which is kind of cool. Just, you know,
I love that moment. That moment because it's like, of course, we see Lou talk about him earlier in the documentary, and it's like, there they are, and they're pals, they're buddies. It's awesome.
It's really nice. Yeah, it's really nice to see kind of like Vader hugging.
And of course, Lou's giving him a standing ovation as he walks in.
Really nice stuff. And again, what's also being addressed here at the convention, I think we're going to start and usher out of the convention. Basically, what's being talked about here is kind of the precise and powerful, basically why his performance of Vader is really remarkable. Of course, if you're ever doing a documentary, you want just something said about someone, you're going to find the nicest people at not even just comic book conventions, conventions in general, because people are there because they love the subject. So they're, even if you have like what I like to call the dreaded tape lines where they have to tape like line segments on the floor, you have to stand there. That's a sign that, again, Carrie Fisher had that one, and then like some of the stuff documentaries I've seen of her where, you know, she has like these huge lines of fans. That just shows you've made it in the world. We have people lining up in tape to meet you. But my point is, like, everyone's kind of they're praising Press for the fact, you know, his precise and powerful movements on Vader.
Okay, good. This is about where I am too, so I think we're pretty closely synced up again.
Yeah. His precise and powerful movements as Vader made him kind of the Fonzie of film villains. That's kind of what he is. He's the, you know, he made Dave Prowse is the reason. Next, they have the coolest villain voice for Vader, but they also have the coolest imposing appearance, and that's all because of Prowse.
Luke, I am going to jump over these sharks with my water skis.
Okay, now coming up, we're about to have like a really cool shot in the film where, again, there's a great tease of what the film's building to, with Prowse putting on the Vader helmet coming up.
Yeah, I love the clenching, by the way. That's what I wanted to use as the thumbnail for this, but I couldn't find a good enough image.
Oh, yeah. So right now he's just kind of meeting the fans, and everything's going all nice and chummy.
One of the elements
right here is the helmet that. Okay. Sorry. I'm sorry. Go on.
No, what I was going to say is one of the storytelling elements, not necessarily story, it's just a pleasantry, Dragon, all right? I love how when they're in the car going to this convention and David asks, and they've got their handler with them who's like, just let us know what time you want to get picked up and brought back to the hotel, right? And David's like, what time does it go to? 6? Yeah, 6. Well, there's no question. We're staying till 6. I love that, Dragon. I think that action right there is almost kind of like a... If I were to show someone like one clip out of context about like what a nice guy he is, it would probably be like that would be one of them, you know?
Yeah, so right now we're entering Jedi. Now, a few things I want to say about Jedi here that Kurt's kind of... I love how we're introduced to kind of the tone of what the production of Jedi was like. And we don't really have this talked about too much. And this is kind of
we don't. Return of the Jedi is really interesting because, of course, on Empire of Dreams, Dragon, I feel like Return of the Jedi kind of gets the short end of the stick in terms of, the content we get about it.
I feel it was over. They focused on the positive only for Jedi. And this, they're actually addressing the negative, which... Again,
and part of me just has to wonder if this kind of like looming tension with the director and everything was a big reason why Return of the Jedi wasn't as prominently featured as the other two films in that documentary.
Now, here's a few things about Jedi that just inform that tone. Is that, you gotta remember, Jedi was a somewhat troubled production because this is they basically did it too good on Empire, and like how do you top that? It's kind of the mentality going into the film. There's a lot
kind of like the classic Dark Knight Rises issue, right? Like I feel like Dark Knight Rises is the classic example, like the new example.
Well, more like this is the classic example.
Sure, you know what I mean. This is like this is the new example. Yeah.
Yes.
But you know what I mean. And like it's a very similar circumstance, right?
Yeah, it's we're at a point where with this last film, you got to remember now the pressure's off because now they're finishing a trilogy. There's not much risk or pressure to make this one as good as the second one because again, it's going to be the ending. So like we're not going to do another one after this. So you might as well just be a little more relaxed about it. And they got to remember they have like a really new kind of newbie director on it instead of Spielberg. They were going to get Spielberg on this film, Tiki, but they couldn't because
Hollywood of the what ifs. I think.
Lucas had burned ties with the Directors Guild, so they couldn't get Spielberg. Right. So it's essentially even George Lucas had to help here and there in the directing chair because they had a really inexperienced director who unfortunately passed away. That's why he's not in this documentary. And again, he wasn't really an actor's director. And again, Watts is basically we get a sense in this third act here, kind of like ushering us into personally, I think this like ends the second act and the third act's all of the stuff in the.
This is kind of the lows of the story, I think.
That's the thing. This is the low.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is when he's basically like realizing, he's especially like I don't know, Dragon. Just the idea of him sitting around for hours in the Vader suit, ready to go, as the stunt guy is like doing all the work. I could definitely feel how frustrating that would be, Dragon. I would be pulling my hair out if I was on that set.
Right. Of course, I love the basically we have the big betrayal going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a heartbreaking scene, and I love the Mary Shelley quote that kind of prefaces this. So basically, this shows why this story is lost on people, because it's we have a perfectly fine actor, Sebastian Shaw.
You totally wanted to say Sebastian Stan, right?
Yeah. The point is Sebastian.
Yeah, Sebastian Shaw. Yeah.
Seriously, we have a perfectly fine actor, Sebastian Shaw, who is. And when we're all distracted nowadays by the discrepancy with him and Hayden Christensen, that's why this story gets swept
you're absolutely right.
You see what I mean, though? That's why this story was lost.
I didn't even realize that until you brought it up, Dragon. But yes,
because everyone's focused. They're focused. It's like a magician's magic trick. It's like we're all looking at the whole the Hayden Christensen magic trick going on between that. That's why we're all like, oh yeah, Sebastian. We love Sebastian Shaw over Hayden Christensen. We're forgetting
that's beautiful. That's a beautiful observation right there. I love it.
It's before you realize. Wait a minute. Yeah, the guy. Yeah, why wouldn't Dave Prowse be Vader when you think about it? Because again, like he doesn't have the voice of James Earl Jones when the helmet comes off, so why wouldn't they use the actual guy? You're distracted by all the prequel stuff.
Right. Yeah, wow.
And of course, I like how, again, we need is a silhouette to kind of communicate what's going on in the scene here. Now, I want to mention this. So Watts here, again, Watts has a hugely important role in the kind of this low of lows here, because again, he was monitoring, he sent the security. He was the reason that Prowse was uninformed of this. He's the reason. Prowse had a suspicion that they were going to shoot the scene with Evan, but this guy kind of made sure that Prowse was.
But I'm sorry, there's so many discrepancies here that I would just like. If I were in this situation, man, I would feel so heartbroken about it. It really is like just a downfall for me.
I like that no one's necessarily all purely evil in this either. Again, it makes it kind of a wonderful, complex tapestry. Because Bob, he fired the gun on this, but it was for wrong, misunderstood reasons. Because they felt he was a risk because of what happened on Empires, because he would have spoiled something, and just because of that what if they screwed him on this.
Right.
They felt because he said he had a tendency to go into the press, which really he didn't. He was just he never went to the press, and then this happens.
Got a bad rep about it.
And then this happens afterwards, which just kind of completely torpedoes the relationship with Lucasfilm. What happens to him after this?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a precaution that was carried out like a punishment. That's essentially what happened to Dave Prowse. It was like a precaution, which you understand, but still, you give him different pages. You don't tell him what's going on. You just make sure it doesn't get out, like we do constantly now. Like they joke that there's trained snipers on all the Marvel actors in case they say that's the joke every Marvel actor makes. Like they have a trained sniper on them.
I could believe it.
And again, just all that happening while they're secretly shooting the scene and again, it's so heartbreaking. Dave Prowse wanted this is the scene he was looking forward to most, and they teased it in Empire.
Yeah. You're right, Dragon. I'm glad you bring up the Empire bit too, because that really does make it just all the more like he's been getting ready to show his face and really show off what he can do for all these movies now, and then it's just like, nope. Just slap in the face, like, no, you're not a distinguished enough actor.
And again, for 1 minute, a distinguished enough actor for 1 minute. Where again, now let's face it, he doesn't need to be his best because again, he's dying. It's a dying Vader who doesn't.
Look, I understand wanting to get a good performance, right? But I mean, geez, this guy. It's not like David Prowse is like some amateur who's never been in a film before. Like this guy. Yeah. He had a long history of Hammer films before Star Wars.
Exactly.
He knows what he's doing.
I think he has enough experience in acting talent to at least get 1 minute of screen time.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
All the excuses that are laid out here are just, I don't know. I just think they're very, very flimsy. Everything.
So again, just kind of highlighting the tragedy that happened afterwards with Dave Prowse is the fact that after he gets like a really intimidating confrontation with George Lucas, that's the way they phrase it.
I love the way they talk about it, right?
And again, even in People vs. George Lucas, we never have like a super intimidating moment with George Lucas. It's like him waiting.
It's kind of like the Walt Disney like tough boss moment.
Yeah, it's like it's like Lucas kind of. I can picture it in my mind as they're describing it on tape, just him like throwing a newspaper right in front of his face, just telling him, what does that say? Just like you ruined my movie. Well, basically, you spoiled a huge aspect of my movie.
And I also really appreciate that, Dragon, because of course we. We know how passionate Lucas is about the storytelling of Star Wars and how he had everything mapped out in advance. So I gotta say, Dragon is someone who, I've written some fiction before in my life. I've written like short stories and stuff like that. And if, much like they're talking about with the filmmaker, it's like, if Marcus says as much, like if one of my endings got dropped off, I'd be pissed, So it's very understandable, but it's just kind of the sad irony that, like, of course, just because of the one bad luck situation back in the day, back before Empire,
he's blaming purely. Lucas is blaming him purely because of the Empire incident, and
right,
and again, what's so sad about the Empire thing is that no one really anymore. No one really. I think everyone forgot about it. To be quite honest with you, no one looked. Everyone was still surprised and blown away by Empires. It was all that for nothing.
Yeah.
So again, like it's all
and I really do think the Empire situation is just what it is. It's just like David having a lucky guess.
It was a lucky guess.
And I don't think Lucas, I genuinely, if I'm being honest, I genuinely don't think Lucas saw it in the paper and was like, oh, we totally need to do this. I think it was a coincidence.
Yeah, and again,
mostly a footnote.
Again, the heartbreaking thing is that Prowse just did what any likable guy would do. He gave a very civil, honest answer to a reporter who's questioning him about does Darth Vader die? He gave a very non-spoilery answer, saying, "Well, they don't." Again, he can't say yes. It's like what we're dealing with now with celebrity or big movie spoilers. We can't. Actors can't say yes or no. You can't. It's like you're trapped when you can't say.
Yeah.
If you say no, it's a spoiler. Like, oh, why is he saying no? Again, it's a no-win situation. That's what Prowse was. He gave a very civil, he gave facts. Like they haven't not telling me things, so I don't know.
I know that sort of mentality with movie journalism all too well with my friends at Collider Dragon.
Now, of course, now we're getting to the whole convention thing. So this is like the fully it's
And
very
don't
sad.
you
Very
agree that
unfair
this is like, I think out of everything that happened to David, this is the most malicious and just like
because this is
unforgivable.
still going on. He's mentioned this too about like Rogue One stuff. I'm not saying they would have done it necessarily. But I'm saying like he at least could have been on the set for Rogue One. They at least should have extended it.
Yeah, totally.
As a consultant, I mean,
Who
Kenny
the hell
Baker
was in
Kenny
that
Baker was
costume in
allowed
Rogue
on.
One anyways? Was it just
Well,
CGI?
they had it was an actual guy in the
Okay.
suit for both scenes. I'm just
Okay.
saying, the point is, like Kenny Baker was he wasn't in the R2 suit, but he was consulting.
I literally think with Kenny Baker, they put him in the R2 suit for one shot just to say they did it.
I heard that maybe, but I seriously, that they may have been an actual thing. They put him in there just for one shot, but like maybe to show the guys how it works.
Right.
But in all seriousness, this is really cruel because this is still going on. It's really not fair that it's like so sad that that Prowse isn't invited to Star Wars conventions or most importantly Star Wars Celebration, which is kind of the creme de la creme of Star Wars events.
Yeah. Celebration is the promised land, man.
Yeah, I mean, and you have to wonder as they try to make it clear in this documentary that it's not George Lucas who's responsible for this. You got to wonder though, how genuine is that Lucas is not responsible for this? I mean, now of course not. I'm saying now it's like it's now on Lucasfilm, which is now a part of Disney, but they're kind of honoring the old agreement presumably. But you got to wonder.
I think that's BS though. It's like, yeah. I'm sorry. What? Yeah, you're gonna say like you have to wonder. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, you have to wonder because I mean I get a sense if Disney doesn't want to drudge up old stuff. They don't want to kind of like undo anything, kind of like bring Lucas back into the fold in some capacity. I'm not saying like it's an anti thing because of course Lucas attended the stage recently, but you know what I mean though. It's like you got to wonder how genuine is Lucas not being responsible for like kind of having that control, believing Prowse again, and Prowse points out like it's a whole can tell someone you didn't do anything. They're just going to believe whatever they think.
Sure.
Stories, they're still going to believe their side of stories.
I mean, at this point, I just think like with this conflict in general, it's like even if Dave had leaked that Darth Vader had died, right? Even if that did happen, I feel like bygones should be bygones by this point. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and it's the 40th anniversary, guys. Come on.
And I assume he wasn't there this year.
No.
That literally
I'm saying
makes me angry.
It definitely would have been publicized if he attended. I had heard nothing of it. I doubt. I very high. I think it's a 9% chance he did not go. That's all I'm going to say.
For the 40th anniversary.
All I know, 2015, he's still not allowed, and so I would presume that the following years he's still not allowed.
And you're right. I would have heard something too if he was actually in attendance because it would have been a big deal.
Because all I know is with Rogue One, they still made mention that the Prowse thing's still going on, that everyone's still against Prowse. Even last year, still there's an anti-Prowse thing going on, so I think it's still.
So here's the great scene with Rob Watts. I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm.
Yeah, go on. We're on. So Rob Watts.
So this is the great kind of like our antagonist of the story is just sort of like faced with the truth of the situation and sort of confronting his own inner demons about it and kind of coming to a realization. And like I said, Dragon, that's why I think this particular interview was probably the most captivating thing for Marcus to do the whole film shoot. I think this must have been a really, really intense interview.
I see, like, he sees the error in his ways based on this new information, but at the same time, he's whatever decision Bob made, you gotta imagine, like, he didn't see the aftermath of what would happen to Dave Prowse. He didn't know like the whole banning of Star Wars Celebration. He didn't know all that was going to happen.
Sure.
You gotta imagine there's some guilt on his side of that, but he's just kind of, it was a decision he made. He was carrying out orders.
Okay, so here we go. Here's the big moment that it builds up to.
Yes, guys, I love it when he says, would you like to be Darth Vader again? Just to build on them. We then cut to black, and then we see him making the call, and he's calling Lucasfilm to kind of go through he's going through the proper channels, and then of course the denial. Again, he's on the phone.
And this denial, right, is going to kind of be the big driving force behind our third act, which I think very much
very grassroots kind of campaign going on.
Yeah, and this very much kind of leads to some incredibly creative, necessary directorial and editing choices within the documentary, which I think,
Yes, very much.
I think honestly, the documentary is all the better for.
Yes. Now, again, what's so painful here in this, like they highlight that all his image was not in the film. Like that hurts really. It really does. Just the fact that they can't add him in the scene because he was not in the film in any other in that scene in that capacity. It's like firmly like, well, he was supposed to be in that scene.
Right.
That's the bitter. It's like the bitter realities of the contractual agreements. It's like, oh, it's sad. So, and again, I love here that we're checking back with Prowse, and it's like a great journey to Spain, essentially. So Prowse, he's working out like he does in the classic bodybuilder always, and we check in with him with kind of life after Star Wars. We see a bit of the stuff that's about to unfold before we get to the journey to Spain, I should say. We have kind of the downside of him. We get a sense at the personal life here, kind of the embarrassment, not the embarrassment, it's kind of the overlooking of the kids at times, and how Vader is intruded upon the home life.
I can totally see that too, especially with just how caught off guard by how the relationship between Lucasfilm ended, and that would just totally be like a void in his life, and I could totally see that putting a strain on a relationship and a marriage.
Yeah, imagine just this set. We don't really spend a lot of time on this idea, Tiki, but I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we don't spend much time on this element here, but the idea that he might be clinging to the Vader thing, and anytime just people still come up to him and say, "Oh my God, you're Darth Vader," there's gonna be some pain associated with that now. That thing has just brought him nothing but joy, and it's got nothing but delight and happiness. It's now going to be, it has a little bit of pain associated to it. So right now, of course, there's kind of the how Vader's intruded upon the marriage, and again, just you gotta imagine there's now while it's kind of like celebrating a part of life, which I think now he still has a positive disposition about. I'm just saying that it's still, you gotta imagine it's kind of like that it's kind of the mystique you get with Prowse. He's not putting everything on Front Street, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my microphone keeps cutting out, but this is a really good conversation we're having, Dragon, except for the tech issues.
Yeah. So right now we have the journey to Spain, which is really cool. And again, it's a lovely. Again, the shots are done in a mystery style too. Like we're getting visual evidence of what's going on here. Because initially you think, okay, he's just driving, but no, he's at an airport, which means, hey, if he's in an airport, that means he's on his way.
Oh yeah.
And not only he's on his way, he's on his way to shoot. He's on his way to put the suit on again. Good.
And of course,
there's a pleasantry. He's signing an autograph for the
yes,
which is really nice.
I've got to applaud the cinematographers here for just getting all these shots of him and his face, and just just him lost in thought at what he's about to do and what it means for his life.
And this is a brilliant way to kind of get us. I know we're kind of in the third act. This is a great way to transition us to our big moment here, with the whole the narrator speaking to like the villain seeking redemption, kind of the parallel to the story of Dave Prowse seeking a new hope. And again, you got to remember, a new hope was when everything was fine with Vader. That's when he's living up. That's when he's putting the mask on. He's being a villain. He doesn't have to worry about all kind of the interviews and the press stuff. He's going back to a new hope, the glory days of it all. Mm-hmm. When all was good and young, he's getting back, kind of relive everything. And again, I love this is all phrased like a rebel mission from Star Wars, almost like A New Hope.
I'm sorry, Dre. Have we gotten to the handshake yet?
Well, right now I'm on the cool little bust of Vader unmasked.
Well,
I was hoping to ask. Tell me this: when you saw the shot of the unmasked Darth Vader, do you think that's a mock-up of Prowse, or do you think that's a takeoff of Vader unmasked from the movie? Because it doesn't look like Sebastian Shaw. It looks a lot like Prowse, to be honest with you.
So I'm sorry, I'm still a little bit lost on where we are, but
right now they're makeup. They're making them up right now. They're making them up.
Okay.
Before, when they were all like the glass case and like they're in like a little Star Wars museum they had going on there, like right now they're building
right.
and everything. When there's in this glass case, there's the unmasked Darth Vader. And he's
Okay,
pointing to
yeah, sure. I
you think-
definitely, I think that is supposed to be a visual representation of what Proust would look like.
I
Yes,
gotta tell you, I really hope that's the case because that fixes everything with the. Not that there was anything wrong with it. I'm just saying that kind of gives us we get a glimpse at paradise in a way. It's
absolutely, absolutely. It's kind of like the great. It's the great like legal loophole that Saul Goodman would be proud of.
That's the thing, because again, we don't. Maybe it's because they don't say it explicitly. That's how they get away with it. Because I don't know. Because I don't know if they made that because it looks a lot like Proust, but it doesn't entirely look like him now. That's kind of the thing. It looks they might have made it from an old casting of him. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Either way, it's impressive. That's one saying. Of course, right here we're about to get the shot. Basically, they're getting ready to make the scene here. They're building the ramp and everything, and we're about to get one of my favorite shots. And we see the back of his head made up. Which, again, the back of his head being made up again, that's the shot we did see of Proust in Empire. It's the one shot we got of him so close to his goal of being seen. Again, the man whose face was really never seen, except for Clockwork Orange. The man's face was never truly seen. Again,
I'm sorry, Dragon. Let me know when it fades.
Right now.
Let me know when it fades out from when the director says action, okay?
Okay, and right now we have, again, I love this how they're mirroring the shots. It's basically they're in reverse. They're showing the removal of the mask by them donning the mask in pieces.
Uh-huh.
Like we saw earlier, right back in the very beginning. And now, oh God, he's walking Vader, Dave Prowse in the Vader suit to the stage. And it's like...
I couldn't imagine being one of the people in that room. Just the energy would be off the charts in that room.
Again, right. This is such a beautiful notion that, again, the boy is kind of helping his hero in a way. He's helping the icon of his childhood to his end, essentially. And now there's the handhold.
Okay, handhold, and then just let me know when it fades out after saying action.
And of course, it's just beautiful. Again, the anticipation's like electric in the air.
Of course,
like, oh God, it's such our emotional climax, and we're teased by it though. It's like we're just we see like a white blob, like they're just about to shoot it now. So again, it's rolling, and we're zooming in, action, and we're now fade out.
Okay, gotcha.
So, and then of course, well, this is a brilliant transition as again, like Dave Prowse is about to get his moment in the sun in the present. Then we go to the past where it's revealed like, hey, this is Dave Prowse. This is what the real guy looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, it's like him getting credit for that role. He's so iconicized. I have no idea if that's a real word, but made so iconic.
Right.
But you see what I mean, though. Again, it's like that. That's why being seen as Vader made the difference for him, because that's the role he was most known for. That's the role he had such a great attachment to playing. And again, it would have been like, hey, the guy under this mask is really the guy under this mask.
Yeah, it would have been special for sure.
And again, the fact that they've shot that, and we're about to get kind of the ultimate payoff for that soon. So actually, right now we're getting there. So he's being transported to the big screening, and I love how we're taking our time with this. Again, it's kind of
again, like I said, the cinematography just looming on his face.
Right. Now, this is great. This is like from Disney with Save Mr. Banks here, where he has like the pre-written autographs.
Exactly.
Really nice. I'm sorry, T. Did you have anything you wanted to say in particular about kind of how they're obscuring the stuff, or you want to save that for the screening?
Not really about how they're. Let's save that. But like I said, it's a really bold choice to just get right up close and personal with this guy as he's about to have this moment. So I just really applaud the filmmakers for going in that intimate with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, in terms of how they hide it, yeah, it is very much. I just think it's clever. I don't know.
Honestly, it's like it would have been fantastic, but you absolutely understand why, because legally they can't show up. At the same time, I love the point of it is you don't need to see the whole message of the film is you don't need to see his face to appreciate him. You don't need to see his goal is to be seen. As his goal is to have that wrong being rewritten. At the same time, again, it's so kind of beautiful from a writing standpoint, even though it's real life. Is that again, his journey is that it's recognition for he doesn't need to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the point. The point is, he doesn't need to be seen. It's people recognizing this was important because he so identified with this role. And we all know him for this, and we're giving the standing ovation he deserves.
And of course, we also just shoot.
That's why right now we're in the screening. I love again as we're kind of having the screen's blurred right before.
Lost my train of thought. Sorry.
We're focusing on his face in the theater right now. And that's the face we need to focus on versus them being unmasked. And, again,
this is very much like a saving Mr. Banks moment right here.
Yes, you're right. And you see what I mean, though? Again, it's like all about the reaction versus like what the actual reaction is. Kind of like saving Mr. Banks.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dragon. I have the thought I was about to say. So basically, why I think this is so effective, the fact that, of course, legally we can't show it, but I also think it's effective just because, like, it gives the filmmaker the challenge of putting the mental image of what it would look like in our mind's eye without actually seeing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And I feel like throughout the documentary, it builds and builds and builds upon that, and we see different visual hints. Like you said, I think the most obvious visual hint is that prosthetic head in the jar, that we see. Mm-hmm. But yeah, what it kind of reminds me of, Dragon, and I'm sorry, this is like one of the few times I'm going to use the movie Seven in a non-jokey way. But I've explained this to you before, Dragon. One of the success stories about Seven is how everyone thinks in Seven that you see the head in the box, right?
But you don't, because your
imagination. You don't see the head in the box. You never see anything in the box. It's all in your imagination. And I feel like this movie, of course, does a much less morbid thing than Seven did, but still kind of gives the same effect of, like, we're seeing this through our own mind eye based on the journey that these people are taking.
So something I want to say, it's kind of past, but I love Ferrigno's quote about kind of like, the mask behind. He's become the mask behind the man.
I love that. Yeah.
I thought that was so moving. Again, I love how he's Prowse's champion in this film because he's just the guy who's he's in Prowse's corner. He's the one saying that this is a good man. He's been shafted and he didn't deserve that. We love this guy.
Just throwing it out there, I'd love to see a documentary about Ferrigno.
Oh God, I'm so down for that too.
Yeah,
oh, God,
right.
And again, I'm basically kind of saying we're getting back.
Or even a biopic
we're getting back
about
to
Ferrigno would be great.
Right. Again, basically he's getting the recognition he deserved here. Again, it's not about him being recognized. Like, hey, that's him. It's all about him getting the recognition.
Sure, like you did a great job, and you are the reason why this character was so successful.
It's all about Dave Prowse taking a bow. It's all about the man
absolutely
who filled Vader's shoes taking a bow. Only one man was man enough to fill Vader's shoes, and that was Dave Prowse.
It's just the warm fuzzies, Dragon. It's such a happy ending.
Something I don't think we mentioned before, something we can definitely mention now, is I love that Dave Prowse, he's still all happiness and sunshine about Lucasfilm. Like, he hopes to be a goodwill ambassador. He's still him mentioning that. Of course, it's a long shot that would ever happen, but the fact that he's still like, as much as they've burned him, he's still like, I would love to mend things. I'd love to kind of be on.
I think that's a really interesting way to look at Dave Prowse within the. Sort of.
This part gets me. This is beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, don't distract me.
Okay. No, I'm just. Well, damn. Now you distracted me, but
it's beautiful. I'm sorry. It's just they're playing like the little piano music.
No, and like you said, this movie does have a great score to it, but shit.
Okay, well, this is beautiful. Again, this is just Prowse getting the acknowledgement. He's getting the acknowledgement. Everyone's saying the man behind Dave Prowse, the man who was wronged who had like one of the big injustices done to him. That's like all the praise he ever got. They edited it so well, and we end on that statue of Vader. It's a beautiful thing right there.
And like I said, the journey that Marcus takes in this movie, again, like he is definitely the. Right up there with David is the focal point of the story, I think.
Mm-hmm. the man with it's the man with the arm around the boy who looked up to him. It's just showing you how far the two of them have come.
It's like the Mean Joe Coke moment, but a movie's worth of that.
Yeah, it is kind of a softer feature-length version of that in a way. And again, I like that Watts in the end, his last moment is that he acknowledges that it's hard to keep a secret on film. It's kind of like his sort of, yeah, Dave, we all had that moment. So
of course.
It's kind of the closest thing to the apology he'll give.
Right.
Hey, he's not necessarily bad as the guy carried out.
Well, like I said, I feel like the documentary kind of sheds the layers of him as we go through, yes. Which I feel was like a really I would have loved to be a fly on the wall for that interview because I feel like a lot of personal truths were brought out about that guy in the interview.
And again, just to kind of parallel New Hope again, when things are all great for press, it's like a New Hope. Our hero receives a medal from royalty, which is really nice.
I'm sorry, just weird hypothetical here, okay?
If he played Chewbacca, he would have gotten the medal.
No,
right?
If he played Chewbacca and he didn't get the medal, then it would have been like David Prowse being snubbed for something completely different. Like David Prowse, we talking like and it's like we'd film the medal ceremony over again, Dragon, but with Chewbacca getting the medal. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop.
Go ahead. There was a wonderful line that ended the whole thing.
Sure.
It's like a mask can hide a face, but can also hide a great story, like a true story. It was a beautiful words to end on. Of course, I always love these, especially at the end of Hitchcock. I love the text on the screen. It is seriously. It is. George Lucas has kindly declined our invitation to be interviewed for. Again, kindly declined. Lucas isn't kind of. He's not a bad man. He's a misunderstood man.
Right. Well, we'll get into that, Dragon. We'll get into that. That's a good transition into People versus George Lucas coming up very, very soon on May the 4th. But, okay, obviously.
The tragedy is he's still waiting.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The tragedy is he's still waiting for that invitation, as we learned in that text. But you know what? We love Dave Prowse. That's the thing to exposit in the end there, too. That's important. And I love how our last note here is that we're showing the hidden faces of cinema.
Mm-hmm. Which it's a very good kind of like full circle bookend sort of thing.
Yeah. I have one, again, I only have like two very minor gripes in the film. I already went through the one that we didn't see the Clockwork Orange scene.
There's Robert Englund.
And again, that one's on that. Yes, and here's the thing that bugs me. We really should have seen the guy that plays Jason because he got the. That's the thing. Don't get me wrong. What you said of Robert Englund was absolutely on the money, Tiki.
No, but you're right.
Like, yes,
Jason was even more challenging of a role because you never saw his face. Like,
and
at least with Robert Englund, he got to Robert Englund got to emote. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And plus, he got shafted on the Freddy versus Jason that everyone kind of talks about.
Right.
My point is, don't get me wrong, Robert, and you're right. He's kind of irreplaceable, and that's kind of why he's there. But at the same time, though, again, Jason seemed to be the one to your favorite Freddy over Jason. That's not fair.
Well, everyone has to pick. That's a battle, Dragon, where it's like you're either a Freddy guy or you're a Jason guy. I personally am way more of a Freddy guy than a Jason guy.
I am Freddy not for the movies, but for the documentaries.
Okay, you can just acknowledge, Dragon, that.
I love Robert Englund. I'm not crazy about the movies, but I love Robert Englund.
But I was going to say, you can acknowledge that the movies do have some really cool kind of like world building and ideas in them.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Again, I love the production. I love the making the movies. I just can't watch them. I can't watch them, but I love them. But again, back to press this. Again, we're reaching the end here, so I guess let's get into some final thoughts.
Yeah, final thoughts, Dragon. Thanks so much for bringing this to my attention because this is a very, very well put together documentary and is kind of in the upper echelon of Star Wars documentaries for me. I really do think this is a good kind of companion piece to what we're going to be talking about right after this on May the 4th. It's just a very compelling life story of a man, but also intertwined with a mystery and sort of a caper, and also intertwined with kind of like an autobiographical narrative around a boy meeting his hero. And for that reason, Dragon, it is an incredibly well put together and that's think of how economic that storytelling is. It's an hour and 20 minutes long, and we hit all those notes and we hit them perfectly. So yeah, I'm incredibly impressed with this, and I think it does a lot of justice to David Prowse. I honestly feel bad for being one of the, millions of Star Wars fans who kind of wrote off Prowse as just like the hoity-toity British actor. And I'm glad this film exists to give him the credit he deserves.
Yeah. This is truly a lovely film. It really is. It was a wonderful testament. It's a wonderful testament to David Prowse. I learned quite a great deal, which is what you want to do with a documentary. You want to learn something. You also want to tell a good story. That's kind of the best. Those are the best kind of feature length documentaries. Don't get me wrong. Again, that's something like Empire Dreams, which Steve and I are huge fans of. It kind of reinvigorate, at least for me, it reinvigorated kind of my love in Star Wars. It's a huge reason I love Star Wars. That very much is kind of telling you the story as it is versus kind of like in a kind of a story. Versus kind of a narrative form. This has a wonderful narrative that's unlike most narratives you see for documentaries, which I'm still so amazed by. And that's what, again, it grabbed me right from the very beginning with that little fact. Again, we think we know everything about Star Wars, even though we've seen, based on seeing Empire Dreams, or based on kind of general Star Wars, what we basically would see on a Star Wars DVD or something. Like, sure. We know how things are made. Again, we've heard the Ben Burtt story a million times. We get the gist of it. We know how to make.
We've heard the Ben Burtt story a million times.
Yeah, and Dave. Again, Dave Prowse, guy in the Vader suit, and we have a guy doing the voice over him because his voice didn't match. That's all we knew about Dave Prowse along with the Superman thing. But aside from that, again, it's. But then again, right from the thing that's never going to leave me about this movie is just that opening, this little introduction of like, Dave Prowse did it, but like the very opening movie is he did not. He was supposed to be at that last Shadow. That's such an encapsulating note to open a movie on. And I'm so fascinated by that mystery aspect of the film, and it delivers. It has emotion. It has a score, it's narration. It's a work of art in a way. It is.
Yeah, very much.
It's a work of art that tells a compelling story that not many people know, and that's what you want to do with a film. That's not only what you want to do with a film; it's what you want to do with a documentary film.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it was just so well done. I'm so darn proud of it. And again, I'd love to see what this guy does next. I really would, Marcus. He knocked it out of the ballpark with this.
Yeah, I agree. Does he have any like independent films or anything floating around that you know of?
I have not looked into it. I want to say he's relatively
I'll look into it.
But I can't really speak to it.
Like, I wonder if he has like a short film or something out there somewhere. Anyways,
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be either.
Yeah, it's like he met his hero, and he was this guy championed his hero, who was the greatest villain of cinema in a way.
All right,
his hero was a villain.
Well, folks,
that's a great.
Yeah.
Well,
folks, thanks so much for joining us on part 1 of our 2-part May the 4th documentary series. Of course, we're going to jump right into The People versus George Lucas, which is kind of like a more comic, like it's more lighthearted and a bit more scathing than this. I don't know. It's interesting, Dragon. Like, I feel like The People versus George Lucas, at the end of the day, lets George Lucas off the hook a bit more than this documentary does. Whereas the tone of The People versus George Lucas is very much like scathing. So this is more kind of like underhanded against Lucasfilm and George Lucas, where The People versus George Lucas is almost kind of like a Friars Club roast of George Lucas in a lot of ways. So I can't wait to talk about that. And in the meantime, folks, May the 4th be with you always.
And with you.
Now, Tiki, the important thing to remember, if we ever reshot the Dave Prowse scene, his face would be entirely in CGI, Tiki. We'd film that face in CGI, and sure, we could still use Dave's body and head, but it'd have to be in CGI, Tiki. All right, I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. Have a good night, folks. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm George Lucas.